Excellent. Hello, my name's Renee with Red Orchid Travel, in case you haven't met me yet. And I'm here today to try to demystify the wonderful world of travel insurance. Many people still today do not know how to protect their travel investments and especially how to protect themselves medically, hospital-wise. How about evacuation, from another country or if you're on a ship? And with 2020 not that far behind us, we have had lessons to learn. I'm always trying to educate my clients with anything that has to do with travel to keep them safe, to keep them abreast of protection and all the rest. It's part of my, I don't know, my duty as a travel advisor to do that. And I would like to introduce to you today the very knowledgeable in her field, Cheri, my business development manager with Allianz Global Assistance. And Cheri works very closely in the travel insurance world every single day. So who better than to have on here? Hello, Cheri. How are you doing today?
Hi, Renee. I'm so good. Thank you. And thank you for having me with you today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. This is such a heavy topic, and a lot of people plan their travels and they don't even have any thought to adding travel insurance. So I feel, it's really imperative, as well as I do a lot of group travel, and in order to travel with us in groups, they have to have travel insurance just because it's there and protects everybody on the trip.
Yeah.
So I would love you to share an overview, demystify this deep world of travel insurance and all the ways we can explore protection.
Fantastic. Well, I can talk travel insurance all day, every day, but I'm not going to do that because the tolerance level is not that good. But I am going to get into things a little bit with you today. I am going to start like right at the beginning with some core basics to help people understand what type of products are available on the market today and what they're really for. Because I'm going to admit, like, I can still remember. I'm trying to think when it was when I kind of booked my own first trip as an adult. And I remember sitting across from my travel agent who was booking my trip at the time and her saying to me, "Do you want insurance?" And I'm like, "Well, what's insurance? How much does it cost?" And I remember having that reaction as clear as day. No, no, no. I don't need it. I'm not going to cancel. And that repeats itself in my head over and over and over again and has throughout my 20-year career with Allianz. And so I think sometimes we just don't understand. We don't understand the value of the products, the importance of them. We don't understand what different products are and what they're for. And so we are going to start at some of those basics today to help people really understand what's available for them and to not overcomplicate it, because the reality is it's not overly complicated. We just have to look at what's available, what type of protection are we looking for, and how can it add value to our experience. And that is really what travel is all about. It's about that experience, right?
I
So
agree. I think
I'm
it's
going to go
perfect.
in. I'm going to share my desktop with you. Hopefully you can see that now. This is going to give us a high level overview of the products that are available with Allianz. And so again, I'm starting super basic. Now, are you seeing my screen okay? Oh,
I can see it.
awesome. I always like to confirm. Okay, so there are really two core products when it comes to travel insurance. There's your emergency hospital medical, and then there is your trip investment protection. Now, that can break down into a few different components. One is trip cancellation. That is that product that you're looking for that says, if something prevents me from going on my trip and I have to cancel, and I've purchased a trip, a package, whatever that combination might be. If I've purchased it and it's non-refundable and I have to cancel, how do I get my money back? That's cancellation. On the back end of that, cancellation products usually come with interruption, delay, and different benefits that again add value to the product. And so Interruption coverage would apply in the event that a client has to, one, come home earlier than expected because of a medical emergency or another applicable covered reason, or they have to stay longer than they anticipated for a covered reason. Now, we also have travel delay, which is somewhere along the trip, whether en route or on the way home, your travel has been delayed. It's usually a shorter period of time. It can sometimes be a cancellation. You could be on the trip, your flight home is canceled, but it's only a temporary cancellation. They're rescheduling you on another flight and they'll get you back. So those are kind of your core products: emergency hospital medical, and what we call non-medical coverage. That's your cancellation, interruption, travel delay, baggage delay. So when I present insurance to people, those are the things I usually talk about. So if we look at what's on our screen now, it's going to be the second one from the left, emergency hospital medical, combined with the one on the far right, which is the non-medical package. Hopefully it's displayed in the same order that it is for me. Now, the combination of those two products make up our comprehensive plan. Okay, so that now gives us three core products: comprehensive, which is all inclusive; emergency medical, which is just your medical coverage; and then your non-medical package, which is intended to cover those everything except for medical emergencies. Now, that can also be sold in a number of different ways: multi-trip plans, post-departure products, lots of different ways that you can sell that, but those are the core kind of components of the product and coverages. Now, why these are so important today is because the reality is we are seeing more disruption in travel today than we ever have before. And it ranges from a number of different things. Obviously, the pandemic is still top of mind when it comes to booking travel. And though a significant number of people have returned to travel to the pre-pandemic, I guess, trends and habits that they had, but there still are some that are a little bit unsure. And the reason that they're unsure, a big part of it is because that experience doesn't always look like it used to. We are seeing, more frequent airline interruptions. We have seen here in Canada for a number of years, airline strikes or threat of strikes. We are year after year impacted by weather. And of course, then we're dealing with things like pandemics and geopolitical issues and travel warnings. It doesn't just impact us within the safety of our own country, it impacts us outside of the country as well. And the reality is we can't always prepare for what that impact is going to be. And one of the reasons that we travel is because we want to have a memorable experience, whether it's with family or friends or traveling on our own. We are looking to experience something that's going to bring joy to our life. And so, having the right products to help anticipate what some of those challenges might be, it really, truly changes what that experience is going to be.
Definitely. And I'll add in there, how about volcanoes erupting? That's totally unforeseen. That isn't, that doesn't fall in any of those other categories. World strange events.
Yeah, it just, you can't predict it. I have a trip booked myself actually for end of June, and I got a pre-jury screening the other day. If I got called to jury duty and couldn't go on my trip, again, that's something that's covered. People that are adopting a baby, somebody that, maybe they get an adoption notification. Maybe somebody has booked a trip and, it's a year down the road and they find out that they're expecting. There are so many things that we don't always think about, but with the right information and the right education, we have what we need to make the decisions that are going to help us to create that experience and make it really memorable. Right? We're on the same page. All right.
I was gonna say, or a daughter that decides to get married when you have a trip.
Yeah. Right. Or, you know what? We even have products that just allow you to cancel because you've simply changed your mind. We all know sometimes that spouses can be a little bit difficult and stressful around travel time. If you just are like, I'm not going anywhere with you anymore, there are products in place that can offer that valuable protection and peace of mind. And travel is more costly than it used to be. And we save, we work hard. It is an investment. We want to make sure that that investment is protected. And so it's important to know what the products are that are available and what they do for you, how they can protect you. So your standard cancellation, as I said, this protects your trip investment. This says, I have paid a certain amount of money for my trip, and now I want to protect that value in the event that I can't go. And so you insure that value. Emergency medical provides coverage for you when you're traveling if you have an unexpected medical emergency. Now, I use the term emergency, but it could be a non-emergent medical situation as well, something where the client is just feeling unwell. There's no need to suffer when you're traveling. There is support available for you. Here in Canada, we're very fortunate. We are able to seek medical care whenever we need to, for the most part, without long waiting rooms. But when we travel outside of Canada, it's not the same. We don't always understand what the medical systems are going to be like, what that experience is going to be like. And so having an organization behind you and having people you can talk to that can help you to understand what that experience is going to be like and also cover the expenses of that, I cannot tell you how valuable that is. Imagine being in a situation where either you or your traveling companion has a significant medical emergency, a heart attack, a stroke, sepsis, something that is very significant that requires medical intervention. If you are in those situations in foreign countries where you are not familiar with the healthcare system, those can be exceptionally trying. And part of the value of buying insurance is actually having someone that's going to manage that experience on your behalf. It's not even just paying the bill. It's having someone that's going to say, listen, we have you. We know how it's going to work in the area that you are, and we're going to take care of this for you. We're going to communicate with you. We're going to communicate with your family back home. You're going to be fully supported. There's a lot of value in that.
So important. Oh,
yeah. And then outside of that, when I look at kind of trip interruption, travel delay, baggage loss, I think about it in a way where you can kind of simplify it and say, it's all of those unexpected additional travel expenses you could have if there is an interruption or delay. I'm going to use what's happening today as an example. Again, we've heard time and time again, there are global fuel shortages. We are seeing some airlines starting to cancel some, I guess, more infrequently traveled routes. And the reality is there is additional threat of routes being canceled. So people are cautious. People are thinking, well, what could the impact be? And so in the event, as an example, and I'll use myself again, I've got this trip booked for end of June. If I go on that trip and I get to my destination and my return flight is canceled, I could be in a position where I incur additional expenses. Now, typically the airline is going to protect me and they're going to rebook me on another flight, but that flight might not be for a couple of days. What if I need a hotel? What if I need meals? What if I need transportation? Some of those things can be claimed under your travel insurance policy as those post-departure benefits. Now, the reality is if you take the risk and you travel without insurance today, and something does happen, you have those expenses. There's simply no way to avoid them. You're at destination. Yes, the airline's going to rebook you, but it might not be for a couple of days, and you have absolutely no control over that. You are going to incur expenses. The right insurance products can help alleviate some of the financial stress with that and make sure that you are able to claim and get some of that money back, if not all of that money back. And so that's the best way to think about it. Again, it's those pre-departure, I'm protecting my investment. Then it's those unexpected. What happens if there's a medical emergency, or what happens if there's a delay or interruption? What are the products that are going to protect me?
Yes.
Again, a lot of these products are sold in a number of different ways, so we can be really flexible and make sure that we're finding the right product for your clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Comprehensive trips, both comprehensive and medical standalones, we again have different options. So if you have clients that are frequent travelers, you can always look at multi-trip options. They are a great option for people that are traveling. I think there's a lot of value when it's 2 or more trips a year. So some cost savings, and that, again, having that peace of mind that you've got the right protection in place.
Yeah, that's my best seller because a lot of my
Yeah.
group travelers, if they go on 2 a year, it pays for itself. And then it's protected. If you want to go away and just go over the border or shop or whatever, people want to jet off somewhere, it's definitely good to have already.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. It's true. And a lot of times we don't think about needing insurance for sometimes those short trips. Like you just said, I'm hopping across the border for 48 hours to do some shopping, or I'm
yeah.
going to a sporting event, or my child has a hockey tournament, or even I'm traveling within Canada and I'm going from the East Coast to the West Coast or vice versa. There are still limitations on policies, on medical plans when you're traveling even within Canada. And
Well, there's
so
different fee guides. There's different fee guides. And so we
absolutely,
assume that we're covered across Canada, but we are covered provincially. And all the fee guides in every province are different. So you may end up with an extra bill.
yep,
So that's
you got it.
that's definitely possible.
Yep, it is. And even I heard a story recently. Our head of medical operations, he had his family last summer went to Nova Scotia on a trip, and they had friends come in from another country, and they were doing like this little trip to Nova Scotia. So there were two couples. They did not purchase insurance, despite the fact that their son works for one of the largest assistance companies in the world. And the couple that they were traveling with, one of them had a medical emergency. And so it's late at night. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Digby, Nova Scotia. I am originally from Nova Scotia. I know how small and quaint and lovely Digby is. But boy, if you have a medical emergency in the middle of the night, what do you do?
Mhm.
It's not always going to be easy to figure out, where do I go? What type of facility is equipped to handle this medical emergency? And, so they called him, and, again, they were not going to be covered. They were going to be out of pocket the expenses, but he was at the very least able to help them navigate that situation, get to the right facility, give them guidance and support through that. So again, this is a scenario where traveling within Canada, still those products are exceptionally valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess I grew up with parents who instilled in me that every time you went over the border, you needed insurance. So I would get a yearly policy for my entire family in case
Yes.
anybody went over. And my daughter and her children have it. And now one of them is going over the border with the father, and they have a policy already. So there
Yeah.
is protection there. So yeah,
100%.
definitely an asset.
You are leading by example, which is the best way to.
Yeah, my kids don't travel unless they have insurance.
No, mine neither. 100. Yeah. Yeah. So just I'll touch really quickly on just a couple of fundamentals within the products, just to again reinforce the value. But I think sometimes we don't think about everything that's included. So I've given you a couple of examples about, just the experience of it all. But when it comes to the medical product, this product, it provides coverage for up to $10 million per person. Now you think, well, $10 million, am I going to get there? Probably not. That's the reality. I have definitely seen claims upwards of $1 million, and even one that was $2 million. But we see claims upwards of over $100,000 every single day.
Mhm.
So if you think about what that might look like, again, you're traveling, you have a medical emergency. what is that experience going to be like? It's going to cover your hospitalization, your medical services, investigation, test, procedures. It's going to cover physician services. In the event that, let's say, you have a solo traveler, Renee, I'm not sure if all of your groups are couples or friends, but if you have a solo traveler
Yes.
that's traveling on their own and something happens and they're hospitalized, we offer a bedside companion benefit that's included in that policy that will cover the expenses to fly a bedside companion to that client's bedside to be with them, to support them emotionally, but also help navigate that situation. And then what will cover some of their incidental expenses.
Yeah, that's so valuable because
So
when I have groups, my responsibility is to the group. And so if there's an emergency, it sounds in a perfect world that I could go with the person involved, but then I have the group over here. So to be able to have that companion situation, stellar. And we often have nurses with us that one of the nurses will help. But then what if we're moving? What if we're on a land tour? How does that look? What does that look like? And so
yeah,
this is so important that we
it
have
is.
this.
It is. And the person typically is under a lot of stress and
Yeah.
emotional discomfort. And having a family member or a close friend there with them really helps to alleviate some of this. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it again. Again, it's about the experience, right? How
Yes.
can we make this unfortunate situation a little bit more comfortable for the traveler? And that's a big part of it. On top of that, once those medical emergencies are over, we will work with the treating physician and medical facility to determine how the client needs to be supported on transportation home. And so what that might look like, it might look like air evacuation. It might look like an air ambulance. It might look like upgrading them to first class. It might look like removing some of the seats on the plane to have a stretcher added into a plane. It might look like them needing to have medical transportation, a doctor or a nurse or multiple practitioners to escort them home. If you think about this again, imagine trying to arrange that on your own without having an expert there to navigate that situation. It's detrimental to your financial future because it's exceptionally costly, but also just trying to figure out the logistics of it all. I can't even imagine trying to navigate that on my own. So it reinforces how valuable the products are. We don't ever want to scare anybody, but what we want to do is we want to educate you and we want to help you to understand what is available for you and why the products are so important.
Yes. So I have a question for you. Under the coverage details, you say customer age 65 plus must complete the medical screening, but I think that's 60 now, right?
It is not. There was a time where we had discussed looking at making changes to that. We made the decision not to. So, anytime that a client is purchasing medical insurance, so anything that has medical insurance included, so comprehensive and standalone, at 65, they will be required to do the medical screening. We have probably one of the simplest medical screening reviews in the industry. Very simple language, only a few questions, and it doesn't determine the client's eligibility or it doesn't determine their stability period coverage. It only helps us to understand the risk associated with that client, and it's a pricing factor. Obviously, with more pre-existing conditions and a riskier profile, that increases risk and exposure for the insurance company, and so the rate adjusts to that. But they still will be able to have coverage. So if they answered yes to everything in the questionnaire, they're still eligible for insurance. And the stability period doesn't change, which is, again, very different than most of our competitors in the industry today. And so that's something that we do like to highlight. Simplicity of doing the sale, clarity in understanding the product, and transparency in what's covered and what's not.
And I agree. Those questions, three simple questions, and if you answer yes to one, there'll be five others. But it's a general overview. It doesn't delve deep. It doesn't ask you how long, all the things. I find it really easy to maneuver, and clients like that. They like that maneuverability as well. So it's not like, well, 10 years ago.
It's the
Yes.
simplicity of it, right? That's the goal
Yes.
is, your job is selling travel and creating that experience for the client. It's the client's job to enjoy it. We don't want to overcomplicate it by complicating the purchase of travel insurance. We want to remind clients how important it is. We want to reiterate that message, and we want them to feel really confident that they've got this protection and this organization behind them to help them along in their journey.
Okay. I don't know where I got 60. I thought it was 60 because sometimes the questions come up even at 60. And so I just assumed that was a medical thing. So,
Yeah. No, not at 60 for us. I do know that our competitor does, but
okay.
we're
Okay.
65.
Good. Let's just keep pushing it. Woo woo.
Yeah.
All good.
Fantastic. I think that's kind of the majority of things that I wanted to cover today. I've already kind of talked about the non-medical package in a little bit more detail and the cancellation and interruption. But again, the thing to look at is just to reiterate, trip cancellation covers you prior to going on your trip. It's protecting that investment in the event you can't go.
Right.
Travel delay, trip interruption, these are all after departure benefits, the same as our medical insurance is. So they prevent you from accumulating additional travel related expenses or expenses for medical emergencies when you're traveling. That kind of sums it up nicely, simplifies things so it doesn't become overly complicated. So I'm going to stop there because I don't want to get too nitty gritty with it, but
Right.
I've hopefully given you a good overview of what we have, why it's important, how we can support, and a few examples of, where it can be put to use.
Definitely. I know we can go much further and it does get,
Yeah,
overstimulating sometime, overwhelming, all the rest. But I think there are several factors right here to simplify it by just what do you want to be covered for when you're away? How do you want to enjoy this? What, are you protected for unforeseen things? And like you said,
yes,
it might not just be your flight delay. It could be, I had a flight and I was in Cancun and we couldn't get home because the airplane had a flat tire and they had to send a new tire down from Toronto. So we had to stay overnight and we had to come back the next day. These are little unforeseen things. So everybody has to be really flexible and remember, pack
yes.
your patience.
Absolutely. That's a really good message is, yeah, be flexible and pack your patience because we just don't know.
Oh,
I,
most definitely.
I should actually add in too, I think one of the things when it comes to travel insurance that we hear a lot of feedback on is, clients have coverage elsewhere. So maybe they have
Yes.
coverage on a credit card. Maybe there's extended health care. Maybe there's a retiree plan. And that's great. If clients have coverage, that's great. And, Renee, hopefully, from working with me that I always kind of say if clients are protected, great. If they're missing something, let's fill the gaps. Nobody
Exactly.
needs to be overinsured.
No,
You don't
and
need
and
20
you know, if
insurance
if
policies.
they are over 65, do they know their credit card might only cover them for 3 days? Like that was such a stunner for me.
Yes,
And people don't realize that every time you have new user agreements, you need to pay attention. You might not be covered in the event that you
absolutely.
rely on that. So, of course, top that up. And then I always get clients see what you have. We're always overinsured, but better to be overinsured and fill those gaps and know just peace of mind that you are covered. Definitely.
You got it.
I
You've
agree.
absolutely nailed it. It
I
is
agree.
about looking at it and saying, what coverage do I have? Please,
Yes.
if I can give your clients any advice at all, please do not travel without understanding what you have. So take
Yes.
the time to look into the coverage that you think you have and make sure that it aligns. Because it's going to be exceptionally important. There's nothing worse than having a false sense of security with not understanding. As Renee said, Sometimes it's an age limitation. So once you turn 65, that 10-day policy now goes down to a 3-day policy. Maybe you've purchased a $7,500 trip and you have $1,500 on your credit card. There's so many different scenarios I could give you, but the best advice that I can provide is take the time to look into the coverage that you have and then consult with your travel advisor to fill those gaps.
Definitely. All right. Well, I hope that this gives everybody a better understanding for sure, and why I preach all the things about having travel insurance. It's so important. We had one person have to go to the medical at her resort for a Band-Aid, and she was charged 60 US dollars. You never know where those little expenses might add up to. Big expenses. Bring a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, I can't thank you enough, Cheri. This has been a long time coming, and I really appreciate you doing this video with me. It is the gap when people plan their travel. They plan meticulous details, and the travel insurance portion is like, oh yeah, but it's like we spent all our money all on our vacation. We don't have any money left. It's like, we better revisit that.
Yeah, yeah. We have to bring it into the conversation a little bit earlier and make sure that we're introducing it and talking about the value for sure.
Definitely. And that's the thing also with people who like to do it their own travels. I have DIY abilities to work with clients. I get them to book an appointment with me. We go over the travel and ensure that they're protected. And over and over and over again, I see no travel insurance. I think young people especially think they're invincible and nothing happens, but it's not true. I could relate a whole bunch of situations that have happened to my clients, and I hope it never happens to anybody. And even
Yeah.
if you're 18, there could be something that slips up while you're away. Like you said, hockey injuries happen no matter where.
Absolutely.
My son's played in Europe and all over the place. So definitely insurance is your best friend. So
And when it comes to the youth demographic too, there are often products that are a lower cost for them as well. So
yeah.
take the time, look at what's available. There's cost-effective solutions out there on the market today. Make sure you're educated.
That youth plan is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And a lot of my 20-ish people will say, why are you, offering me a quote for a youth plan?
Yeah.
Well, it's for under 29, and take
Yes.
advantage of this youth
You
plan.
still have those great rates.
Well, and I have a lot of university groups that I send away. That's perfect for them.
100%.
They're all covered, and yeah, peace of mind again.
Yeah.
So
Well
wonderful.
done.
All righty. Well, I will stop this recording here. And if anybody has any messages, please be in touch. Renee at redorchidtravel.com. My website's Red Orchid Travel. And thank you again, Cheri. Appreciate everything.
Thank you.